Sarah.
Hey, hi everybody, I'm Sarah from the learning community, and first I want to commend you on your listening stamina as an educator. I'm like, just a shout out to y'all. And if you can hang in there with me. So I'm one of the co-founders of the learning community. We're a public school, K-8 school serving about 600 students in Central Falls. We have students from Pawtucket and Providence as well. Almost all of our 600 students live in a mixed status family, meaning that at least one member of their family is undocumented. It is my unbelievable privilege and honor to be part of a community raising these amazing children with their families. And to echo the other panelists, I feel very strongly that I have to state and name my whiteness as a leader right up front, and it's something that is ever present for me in this work. Also, I want to state very clearly that the stance of the learning community is based in history. And as educators, we feel very, very responsible for putting front and center the reality of historical facts, which point very clearly to the fact that all immigration policy in the United States since the origin of our country has always been rooted in race. And lines of inclusion and exclusion in our nation have always been written based upon skin color and to serve a growing capitalist economy that privileges people with lighter skin. That is what immigration policy is grounded in. It remains that way, and those lines of inclusion and exclusion have changed whenever the economy has needed them to change. There are great things about capitalism, there are amazing things about our democracy, but we have to own that reality. As a person who works every day with kids, mostly kids of color, I believe that if we are not honest, first of all, our kids know this. They know it. Our kids of color every single day are confronted with it. And as a white person, particularly in my community, if I'm not saying it right up front and center, they know that I don't care about that. No matter what else I say, they know I don't care about that. So I would urge us all to own the truth on behalf of our kids. At the learning community, I'm going to tell you some of the concrete experiences we've had with our kids, and I'm going to also tell you some of the concrete things we've done to stand in solidarity with our kids and families. I want to frame this in terms of dealing with shame, dealing with alienation, and dealing with actual physical suffering. So first to talk about shame, our kids coming right out of the election, I had kids I had known since they were 5, they were 13, coming up to me and very close to them and their families and saying to me, like, you look upset about this election and the outcome for our community, but do you really care? Because you're just as safe, basically, Miss Sarah. You're just as safe today as you were yesterday, right? I'm not. So to combat shame, part of it is to make space for honest conversation with our kids and our families. And so one of the examples of that I would share is that our middle grade students write memoirs about their immigration experiences, and they share those with audiences that they choose. And so we have a lot of kids who've come directly over the border and had those experiences. We want them to feel comfortable being able to actually talk about that and feel like they're in a community where that is held up and honored, and where they're known for their history and they can be proud of that. We also see a lot of alienation. One example of that I'll give is we've had many families tell us that they don't feel comfortable telling even some of their closest friends or neighbors that they're undocumented. That creates a climate where in our community in Central Falls, I've been there for 15 years, well 17 really, but has always been a community where if there's a kid playing on the street and they get into something with someone else, about 3 people come out of their houses and intervene, right? Under this current administration, what we're seeing is the level of alienation means that people are staying inside their houses, they're pulling their curtains down, and kids are on their own, and so in a way that they never have been. And it runs very countercultural to a lot of the places where our families have educated me about their home cultures, where people feel like a collective responsibility for raising children and feel like that person's child, of course I'm going to go out and step in, right? And so there's this tremendous feeling of alienation that's impacting our kids. The way that a concrete example I can give you is, I had a 6th grader last year who, walking home from school, got recruited into a gang. They hadn't been, there's drug dealers near our school. They had been staying away from that neighborhood because people are so involved, but he got recruited into that. We went to try to intervene, talk to mom. Mom said that she was aware, but she couldn't get involved actually because he was bringing back money that she needed to pay the coyote who got her across the border, who's threatening her family back home. And so we had to intervene with getting them legal assistance and figure out how we could also send that kid away to like soccer camp for 2 months and get the police to deal with the gang. And but that stuff can go on when you're in a climate of alienation, right? And then we are seeing a tremendous amount of what I would call actual physical suffering. Talking about like the chilling effect for our community, that we started to see that right at the election. In terms of not seeking public benefits, our families immediately stopped seeking public benefits. I mean, this is like, public charge stuff is long gone. So we tripled our food bank. For example, now we also started serving 3 meals a day at school. But we've also had to increase like the number of nurse visits. For example, we had to double our nursing team. We have like physical kits that go home with families for basic medical care because they're not getting it. We had a situation where a 7th grader had a seizure at the end of gym class, and the mom came to school, the ambulance came, we were getting him on a stretcher, and mom came to me in Spanish and just said, "Sarah, you can't go to the hospital because I can't go." And she said that he had a seizure 3 weeks ago, and I gave him aspirin and put him to bed, and that's what I need to keep doing. So, in that case, as a school, we decided to see if the mom was comfortable with one of us going to the hospital with her son, and that's what ended up happening. We got him the care, but to think about I'm a mom, and to think about making that kind of choice, being put in those kind of binds. So we're seeing, so some of the things we've put in place, we've worked with our friends in the coalition to figure out how to make sure all of our families have a family preparedness plan that Jen was describing. Debbie has come in and worked with like massive amounts of our families to make sure they understand their rights directly and to answer their questions. We've been working with Linda to deal with issues around benefits. And we also have adopted as a school a safe school policy that is like our own version of the sensitive location policy to reassure families, because nationally there's a massive trend, particularly in border communities, of low attendance in schools where there's high immigrant population. And so we wanted to be able to send a really clear message to our families. Listen, at the learning community, your child, when they're here, they're safe, right? And not only do we have the policy, but we put in place protocols to be able to actually enact it, because it's one thing to have a policy. It's another thing for my front desk person, like I'm not there right now, right? What if ICE shows up? She needs to know what words to say, what are the steps to take. So we've written a set of protocols that, if you're a school person or you're running an organization, you have like your crisis manual, and you do drills on. So we do like lockdown drills and fire drills, and we also do ice cane drills. And we run those for if ICE comes in the building with a warrant, without a warrant, and if they're outside the school building, and for raids at night. So we also have a hotline for our families. If ICE comes to their house at night, they know they can call us, and we're connected to the coalition. So all that to say, our belief at the learning community is that our families do not need sympathy in a time like this. What they need is solidarity, and that's a totally different thing.
So I fear that we are at time and don't have time for questions, but I will offer that if there's an interest in having this panel, people are interested in hearing the panel another time with more back and forth, So Rachel's going to come back up. I just want to say thank you, and you all are terrific, and the message is